Excuse me. Victoria Whitmore's voice cuts through the champagne chatter like ice. I don't recall seeing your name on our guest list. The woman in the elegant black dress meets her gaze steadily. Around them, Manhattan's elite turn to watch. Phone cameras lift discreetly. Perhaps you should check again, Dr. Kesha Washington says quietly, adjusting her simple black clutch. No mistake. Catherine Whitmore steps beside her daughter, pearl necklace gleaming. The help should know their place. Marcus Whitmore Jr. snickers, already filming for his Instagram story. Dad, security. James Whitmore Sr. nods toward the approaching guards, his Rolex catching the chandelier light. The family forms a semicircle, their unified disdain palpable. Kesha checks her diamond PC Felipe watch. Exactly 8:47 p.m. Have you ever been so underestimated that people couldn't see the power you held right in front of them? The Meridian Club's penthouse gleams with old money. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow fragments across marble floors. Tonight's charity gala for the Whitmore Foundation draws Manhattan's most powerful families. Two security guards in black suits approach. Their earpieces crackle softly. "Ma'am, we need to see your invitation," the taller guard says, hand resting on his radio. Kesha reaches into her clutch with practiced calm. Around them, the circle of onlookers widens. Someone whispers, "World star hip-hop," behind a champagne flute. "Oh, this should be good," Victoria murmurs loud enough for the growing crowd. A woman in designer glasses holds her phone higher. Her Instagram Live shows 847 viewers and climbing. The comments scroll rapidly. Karen alert and get her sis mix with less supportive messages here. Kesha extends a cream-colored card with gold embossing. The guard examines it, frowning. This appears to be legitimate. Peers? Catherine's laugh tinkles like breaking glass. James, darling, didn't the club update their security protocols? James Sr. straightens his bow tie. His voice carries the authority of boardroom decades. Sometimes invitations get misplaced or photocopied. The accusation hangs heavy. Several guests nod knowingly. Marcus Jr.'s phone captures every angle. His followers are eating this up. 12,000 views in 3 minutes. Content gold, he mutters under his breath. I can verify the invitation's authenticity, Kesha says quietly. How exactly? Victoria crosses her arms. Do you have documentation references from board members who sponsored your attendance? The crowd presses closer. This isn't just entertainment anymore. It's a public trial. Dr. Elizabeth Carter, a prominent surgeon, steps forward. Victoria, perhaps we should, Dr. Carter, with all due respect, Catherine interrupts. We have protocols for a reason. The Foundation's reputation depends on maintaining certain standards. The coded language isn't lost on anyone. Several guests exchange uncomfortable glances, but nobody intervenes. A server passing with champagne stumbles slightly, jostling Kesha's arm. She steadies herself gracefully, but the movement causes her clutch to shift. A business card falls to the marble floor. Marcus Jr. zooms in with his camera as the guard picks it up. Washington Capital Management, he reads aloud, then pauses. His expression shifts slightly. Never heard of it, Victoria says dismissively. Probably some small firm trying to network above their level. The live stream comments explode. Someone types Washington Capital Ill's 50-bar hedge fund dummy. But the family doesn't see the digital crowd turning. Ma'am, if you could just step aside, the second guard suggests we can sort this out privately. Privately? Kesha's voice remains level, but something in her tone makes the guard hesitate. James Sr. checks his PC FIPE. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an announcement in precisely 14 minutes. Perhaps we could expedite this situation. The announcement, the Whitmore Foundation's biggest moment, revealing their new partner for a transformative educational initiative, a $1.20 $2 billion commitment that will cement their legacy. Of course, Catherine adds sweetly. We can't have disruptions during such an important evening. A Bloomberg reporter in the corner looks up from his phone, suddenly interested. He recognizes the business card the guard is still holding. Kesha notices his expression change. A slight smile touches her lips, the first crack in her composed facade. I understand your position, she says to James, Sr. Time is valuable, especially when millions of dollars are at stake. Exactly. He nods approvingly. I'm glad you comprehend the significance of this evening. The irony is lost on him completely. Victoria gestures toward the service elevator bank. The main elevators are reserved for our guests tonight. I'm sure you understand. It's the final humiliation. In front of 200 of New York's elite, they're directing her toward the servants' exit. The Instagram live viewer count hits 15,000. Comments pour in faster than anyone can read. The hashtag Whitmer starts trending in New York. But inside this marble and crystal bubble, the family remains blissfully unaware of the digital storm brewing. Marcus Jr. adds a caption to his story. When networking goes wrong, Tad maintains standards. The Bloomberg reporter quietly opens his laptop. His fingers hover over the keyboard as he watches Kesha's reaction. She takes a step toward the service elevators, then stops. Her phone buzzes, a text message that makes her expression change subtly. Actually, she says, turning back to face the family. I think I'll wait for the main elevators. Excuse me. Victoria's voice rises an octave. I said I'll wait. Kesha's tone remains conversational, but there's steel underneath. I have some calls to make while we sort this out. She retrieves her phone from her clutch. The screen shows 3 missed calls from Meridian Industries board. The Bloomberg reporter's eyes widened. He knows that name. He knows exactly what it means for tonight's announcement. Ma'am, the guard says uncertainly. We really need to 13 minutes, Kesha says softly, glancing at her watch. Isn't that what you said, Mr. Whitmore? 13 minutes until your announcement. James Sr. nods impatiently. Yes, and we can't have perfect. She dials a number with deliberate precision. That should be just enough time. The phone rings once, twice. Hello, Marcus, she says into the phone. Yes, I know you're in the middle of prep, but we need to discuss the Meridian partnership. The blood drains from James Sr.'s face. Marcus Jr. stops filming. Victoria's champagne glass slips from her fingers. Only Catherine hasn't connected the dots yet. Who is she talking to? She whispers. The Bloomberg reporter starts typing frantically, and Dr. Kesha Washington continues her conversation, her voice carrying clearly across the marble floor. I'm afraid there's been a complication with tonight's announcement. Jim, the Meridian Club's marble floor could cut with silence. Every conversation has died. 200 pairs of eyes focus on the woman in black speaking into her phone with surgical precision. Yes, Marcus. I understand the contracts were signed last week. Kesha continues, her voice carrying across the penthouse, but circumstances have changed. James Sr. steps forward, his face ashen. Excuse me, miss, but who exactly are you calling? Kesha holds up one finger. Wait, the gesture is so naturally authoritative that Manhattan's most powerful patriarch actually stops mid-sentence. The Instagram live viewer count explodes. 23,000, 27,000, 31,000 comments stream like digital wildfire. She said, Meridian OMG, Whitmore about to get wrecked. This woman is somebody. Family racist F. But inside their marble bubble, the whites remain oblivious to the digital tsunami building around them. Victoria grabs her father's arm. Daddy, what's Meridian Industries? Should we know that name? Catherine fans herself with her auction paddle. It sounds familiar. Wasn't that in the board meeting minutes? Marcus Jr. lowers his phone. For the first time tonight, he looks uncertain. Wait, isn't that the company we're announcing the partnership with? The Bloomberg reporter David Kim types frantically on his laptop. His article is already taking shape. Whitmore Foundation Gala becomes public relations nightmare. 10 minutes, announces the event coordinator through her headset. 10 minutes to the Meridian announcement. James Sr.'s hand trembles as he adjusts his cufflinks. Perhaps we should postpone. No postponement necessary, Kesha says, ending her call. She slides the phone back into her clutch with deliberate calm. I just wanted to clarify some details. The security guards exchange glances. The taller one whispers into his radio. Control, we might need the club manager. Dr. Elizabeth Carter pushes through the crowd. Victoria, I really think Elizabeth, please. Catherine's voice has lost its earlier warmth. This is a family matter now. Family matter. Kesha tilts her head slightly. Interesting choice of words, Mrs. Whitmore. The way she says the name with precise pronunciation and subtle emphasis sends a chill through the room. This isn't someone guessing at social dynamics. This is someone who knows exactly who they're dealing with. Marcus Jr., his phone pings with notifications. His Instagram story has been shared 847 times in the last 5 minutes. Someone tagged TMZ. Another person shared it to TikTok. The hashtag #HatwitRacist is starting to trend. Ma'am, the security guard tries again. We really need to resolve this situation. Resolution. Kesha nods thoughtfully. Yes, that's exactly what we need, Mr. Whitmore. What would you say your company's annual revenue was last quarter? The question hangs in the air like a loaded gun. I beg your pardon. James Sr.'s voice cracks slightly. Your revenue. Whitmore Industries Q3 2024, approximately $847 million. If memory serves, the number is exact. Too exact for someone who shouldn't know it. Victoria's face pales. How could you possibly? Public filings, Kesha says simply. SEC documents are quite informative. David Kim stops typing. He knows those filings by heart. The number is correct to the dollar. 9 minutes, the coordinator announces. The crowd presses closer. What started as entertainment has become something else entirely. The energy in the room shifts from mockery to anticipation to something approaching dread. A waiter appears with champagne, but no one is drinking. The crystal glasses sit untouched on silver trays. I don't understand what you're implying, Catherine says, but her voice wavers. I'm not implying anything, Kesha replies. I'm simply stating facts. Your company's market position, your upcoming announcement, your need for strategic partnerships to maintain growth. She speaks like someone reading from a quarterly report she's memorized. Marcus Jr. frantically Googles Washington Capital Management on his phone. The search results make his blood run cold. $50 billion in assets under management. One of the top investment firms in North America. He shows the screen to Victoria, who goes white. 8 minutes to announce. The event staff are starting to look worried. Photographers adjust their equipment. A violinist in the corner keeps playing, oblivious to the brewing storm. James Sr. tries to regain control. Young lady, I don't know what game you're playing. Game? Kesha's laugh is soft, almost musical. Mr. Whitmore, I never play games with business. The word business lands like a physical blow. David Kim's fingers fly across his keyboard. He's connecting dots that paint a picture the Whitmore family hasn't seen yet. Washington Capital Management isn't just any investment firm. They're the kind of firm that makes or breaks companies like Whitmore Industries. The Instagram Live count hits 45,000 viewers. Comments are coming too fast to read. Someone's screen recorded the entire encounter. Another person shared it to LinkedIn with the caption, "When privilege meets its match." Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to lower your voice, the security guard says. My voice? Kesha looks genuinely surprised. I'm speaking normally. Perhaps the acoustics in here are better than you realized. She's right. The penthouse's marble and crystal construction carries sound perfectly. Every word has reached every corner of the room. 7 minutes. A bead of sweat appears on James Sr.'s forehead despite the air conditioning. Catherine clutches her pearl necklace. James, maybe we should call Richard. Richard Steinberg, their corporate attorney. Excellent suggestion, Kesha agrees. You might want to have legal counsel review your partnership agreements, particularly the clauses regarding reputation and public image. The statement is casual, conversational, and absolutely terrifying in its implications. Victoria's hands shake as she fumbles with her own phone. She needs to call someone, anyone, who can make sense of this situation. Marcus Jr. has stopped filming entirely. The phone hangs limp in his hand as he stares at the search results for Dr. Kesha Washington. Harvard MBA, MIT PhD in economics, named one of Forbes's most powerful women, 3 years running. Oh God, he whispers. The whisper carries in the marble acoustics. Several guests hear it and turn to look. Dr. Carter steps forward again. Perhaps we should all take a breath and 6 minutes to announce. The coordinator's voice cuts through the suggestion. Kesha checks her watch. The same understated steel timepiece that suddenly seems less humble and more purposeful. Time is indeed valuable, she murmurs, echoing James Sr.'s earlier words, especially when reputations are on the line. The Bloomberg reporter hits send on his preliminary article. The headline reads, Whitor Foundation Gala devolves into racial incident as mystery woman challenges family dynasty. But David Kim is already working on the follow-up piece because he knows something the Whitmore don't know yet. He knows exactly who Dr. Kesha Washington is, and he knows what she's capable of doing to companies that cross her. The revelation is coming. The room can feel it building like pressure before a storm. 5 minutes. The coordinator announces, her voice tight with growing panic. Kesha smiles, the first genuine expression she's shown all evening. It's not a comforting smile. The event coordinator's voice wavers through her headset like a prayer to an absent God. Behind the scenes, event staff exchange worried glances, their clipboards trembling in their hands. The program cannot be delayed. Too many cameras, too much money, too much reputation at stake. The choreographed precision of Manhattan's social elite is about to collapse into chaos. Kesha's phone buzzes again, the vibration cutting through the crystal air like a tuning fork. She glances at the screen and her expression shifts, not to worry, but to something resembling final decision. The kind of expression surgeons wear before the first incision. Excuse me for just one moment, she says to the assembled crowd, as if she's stepping away from a pleasant dinner conversation rather than a public execution. Her voice carries the casual authority of someone who has never needed to raise it to be heard. The phone call connects on the first ring. Professional courtesy at its highest level. Marcus, it's Kesha. Yes, I'm still at the event. Her voice carries clearly across the marble expanse, each word striking the crystal chandeliers like a bell tolling. I need you to execute the Meridian withdrawal immediately. The words hit the room like a demolition charge detonating in a cathedral. James Sr. stumbles backward as if physically struck, his hand grasping for the marble pillar behind him. His PC Felipe catches the chandelier light, but the elegant timepiece suddenly looks like jewelry on a corpse. Wait, what did you say? Victoria grabs her father's arm with desperate fingers, her manicured nails digging crescent into his sleeve. Daddy, what's Meridian withdrawal? What does that mean? But even as she asks, something in her voice suggests she already knows this is the sound of their world ending. But James Sr. can't answer, can't breathe. His face has gone the color of expensive suit fabric drained of life. The gray of old money turned to ash. The penthouse crowd leans forward collectively like observers watching a controlled demolition. Everyone understands they're witnessing something unprecedented in Manhattan's social architecture. Yes, I understand the implications completely. Kesha continues into her phone, her tone as measured as a quarterly earnings report. $1.20, $2 billion. Yes, the entire partnership. Cancel it. Execute the withdrawal immediately. The number hangs in the crystal air like a death sentence. Catherine's pearl necklace seems to tighten around her throat. Did she say billion? Marcus Jr. drops his phone entirely. Clatters against marble with a sound like breaking bones. David Kim's laptop screen reflects his wide eyes as he types frantically. Breaking mystery woman at Whitmore Gala appears to control billion-dollar Meridian partnership. The Instagram live viewer count explodes past 78,000. Comments stream too fast to read, but certain words flash repeatedly. Queen destroyed power move. I don't understand, Victoria whispers, but her voice carries in the acoustics. Who is this woman? Dr. Elizabeth Carter steps forward, her surgical training making her the first to recognize a crisis requiring intervention. Perhaps I should introduce myself to Dr. Washington, she says clearly. Dr. Kesha Washington, CEO and managing partner of Washington Capital Management. The name lands like a bomb in still water. The ripples spread instantly. Whispers explode across the penthouse. Washington Capital Management. $50 billion in assets. That's the woman who rebuilt the automotive sector. Forbes cover story. James Sr. leans heavily against the marble pillar. His Rolex, which seemed so impressive 20 minutes ago, now looks like a child's toy compared to the quiet authority radiating from the woman in the simple black dress. 3 minutes to announcement. The coordinator's voice cracks slightly, but there will be no announcement. Marcus Jr. scrambles to pick up his phone, his hands shaking. The Google results stare back at him like an indictment. Dr. Kesha Washington, 42, CEO, Washington Capital Management, Harvard MBA, 2006 MIT PhD Economics, 2009 Forbes Most Powerful Women, 2021, 2022, 2023 Net worth estimated $2.3 billion, known for strategic partnerships and rapid corporate restructuring. Oh God, he breathes. Oh God, we're so screwed. The phone call continues. Kesha's voice remains conversational, professional, devastating. Yes, Marcus, I know the contracts were finalized last week, but material changes in circumstances void the good faith provisions. Clause 47(c) specifically allows termination for reputation damage to brand partnerships. She recites the legal language from memory as if she's reading from the document itself. Victoria's champagne glass finally falls from her nerveless fingers. It shatters against marble with a crystalline scream. The sound makes everyone jump except Kesha, who continues speaking as if breaking crystal is simply background noise in her world. No, I don't need to review the termination fees. Washington Capital will absorb them. Consider it a cost of doing business with integrity. James Sr. finds his voice, but it comes out as a croak. Dr. Washington, please. There's been a terrible misunderstanding. She holds up one finger again, the same gesture that stopped him before, but now it carries the weight of $50 billion behind it. Marcus, I'll call you back in 10 minutes with the final details. Yes, I know this affects the automotive sector announcement. We'll find another partner, a better partner. She ends the call and looks directly at James Sr. The silence stretches like a taut wire. David Kim's fingers hover over his keyboard, afraid to break the moment with typing sounds. This is the story of his career unfolding in real time. 2 minutes to announcement. The event coordinator's voice is barely a whisper now. Behind the scenes, staff are frantically calling executives trying to understand if tonight's program should proceed. Catherine Whitmore, who has never been at a loss for words in 65 years of Manhattan society, opens and closes her mouth like a landed fish. Victoria tries to salvage something from the wreckage. Dr. Washington, I'm sure we can work this out. There was clearly a communication breakdown. Communication breakdown. Kesha tests the phrase like she's tasting wine. Interesting way to characterize what just happened. She looks around the circle of faces. For members of one of New York's most powerful families, 2 security guards, a growing crowd of witnesses, and the digital audience of nearly 100,000 people watching this unfold in real time. Let me see if I understand the communication correctly. She continues, her voice still calm, still controlled. I arrived at this event, an event for which I have a legitimate invitation, by the way, and was immediately told I didn't belong here. That's not exactly Victoria starts. Mrs. Whitmore suggested this gathering was for people of a certain caliber. Your son implied it wasn't charity night, suggesting I was somehow undeserving of charity. Your husband called security to have me removed, and you, Mr. Whitmore, questioned whether my invitation was photocopied. She recites their actions like a prosecutor reading charges. The Instagram live comments explode with fire emojis and crown symbols. Someone types, "She's reading them for filth." Marcus Jr. stares at his phone screen where the Forbes article about Dr. Washington is still open. The headline reads, "The Woman Who Rebuilt American Manufacturing." The subtitle, "How Kesha Washington's Strategic Partnerships Saved 200,000 Jobs and Revolutionized Sustainable Industry." He realizes with growing horror that he filmed himself mocking one of the most powerful people in American business. 1 minute to announcement. James Sr. straightens his bow tie with shaking hands. "Dr. Washington, please. My family. We made a mistake. Terrible mistake. But destroying our partnership won't just hurt us. It will affect thousands of jobs, educational initiatives, community programs. Mr. Whitmore." Her voice cuts through his plea like a blade. "Do you know what Washington Capital Management's mission statement is?" He shakes his head mutely. "Building sustainable partnerships with organizations that share our commitment to equality, innovation, and social responsibility." Each word hits like a hammer blow. Your family just demonstrated in front of 200 witnesses and 100,000 social media viewers exactly how committed you are to equality. The math is brutal and precise. Catherine clutches her husband's arm. "James, do something. Call the board. Call Richard. Call someone." But James Sr. knows there's no one to call. No amount of old money influence can undo what just happened. Not when it's been broadcast live to 6-figure audiences across multiple platforms. 30 seconds to announcement. The event coordinator's voice breaks entirely. Someone needs to tell the photographers, the reporters, the board members, the major donors, all waiting for tonight's triumphant revelation that there will be no announcement. That the Whitmore Foundation's biggest moment has become their worst nightmare. Kesha checks her understated steel watch. The same timepiece that seemed so modest 30 minutes ago now looks like the most powerful accessory in the room. "I believe your announcement time has arrived," she says quietly. The family stares at her in collective devastation. Victoria's makeup has begun to smudge. Catherine's pearl necklace seems to weigh a 000 pound. Marcus Jr. clutches his phone like a lifeline to a sinking ship. James Sr. looks like he's aged 20 years in 20 minutes. Time for announcement. The coordinator's voice cracks across the penthouse like a whip. But Kesha Washington isn't finished yet. She has one more revelation to deliver. One final piece of information that will transform this from a business disaster into a complete corporate restructuring. She reaches into her simple black clutch and withdraws a single sheet of paper cream-colored expensive stock legal letterhead. "There's something else you should know," she says, unfolding the document with deliberate care. The paper rustles in the marble silence like thunder. Washington Capital Management doesn't just control the Meridian Partnership. Her smile returns. That same unsettling expression that ended the last section. We also own 34% of Whitmore Industries itself. The revelation detonates like a nuclear bomb in the crystal penthouse air. The silence that follows is the sound of an empire falling. James Sr. releases the marble pillar and straightens his bow tie with trembling fingers. Decades of boardroom experience kick in. When facing total destruction, maintain dignity. Dr. Washington, perhaps we can discuss this privately. Privately? Kesha's voice carries amusement that cuts like a scalpel. Mr. Whitmore, your family just provided a masterclass in public humiliation. I think transparency is exactly what this situation requires. She unfolds the legal document completely, the cream-colored paper rustling like autumn leaves in a graveyard. The letterhead reads Washington Capital Management Equity Holdings Division. According to SEC filing 13D1 filed 18 months ago, Washington Capital Management acquired 34.7% of outstanding Whitmore Industries common stock through a series of strategic purchases. The numbers are precise, devastating, undeniable. Marcus Jr.'s cracked phone screen reflects his pale face as he googles frantically. 34%, he whispers. That makes her the largest single shareholder. Victoria's champagne glass finally falls from nerveless fingers. The crystal explosion against marble sounds like a small bomb detonating. Largest shareholder, but we own the Whitmore Family Trust owns 31.2% combined. Kesha continues with the precision of a forensic accountant. Individually, James Sr. holds 12.4%, 4% Victoria 8.7%, Marcus Jr. 6.3%, Catherine 3.8%. I did my research. The Instagram live audience has swelled to 127,000 viewers. Comments stream faster than water breaking through a dam. She owns them. Major shareholder boss energy. They work for her now. Racist family getting owned by Black Queen. David Kim's fingers fly across his keyboard. Explosive. Dr. Kesha Washington reveals 34.7% ownership stake in Whitmore Industries during viral confrontation. Family faces a potential hostile takeover. Catherine clutches her pearl necklace like a rosary. But that means you could influence corporate governance. Demand board representation. Call for leadership changes. Kesha's tone remains conversational. Yes, Mrs. Whitmore, that's exactly what it means. The legal implications cascade through the room like dominoes falling. Every guest with corporate experience understands. With 34.7% ownership, Dr. Washington doesn't just have influence. She has control. Dr. Elizabeth Carter steps forward. Her medical training recognizing when a patient is going into shock. Perhaps we should, Dr. Carter. Kesha's acknowledgement is warm, respectful. I appreciate your concern, but this is a business matter that requires immediate attention. She turns back to the Whitmore family, her steel watch catching the crystal light. Your company's market capitalization is approximately $3.2 billion. My stake represents $1.1 billion in equity value. That's not an investment I take lightly. James Sr. tries to regain footing. Dr. Washington Capital has been an excellent partner. Your returns have been 12% annually over 18 months. She interrupts. Above market performance, I agree. But financial returns aren't everything, Mr. Whitmore. The room holds its breath. Washington Capital Management has a fiduciary responsibility to our investors, but we also have values. Mission-driven investing, ESG compliance, social responsibility. Each phrase lands like a corporate gavel strike. Tonight, in front of 127,000 social media witnesses, your family demonstrated values that are fundamentally incompatible with our corporate charter. Victoria steps forward desperately. Dr. Washington, we made mistakes. Terrible mistakes. But surely we can what? Pretend the last 45 minutes didn't happen? Pretend 127,000 people didn't watch your family attempt to publicly humiliate someone based solely on race. The accusation hangs in the crystal air like carbon monoxide. Invisible, lethal, undeniable. Marcus Jr. looks at his shattered phone screen, watching his Instagram story being shared across the digital universe. TMZ has picked it up. CNN Business is calling. The New York Post is crafting headlines as majority shareholder. Kesha continues, I'm calling an emergency board meeting for Monday morning, 9 a.m. sharp. James Sr.'s face goes ashen. Emergency board meeting to discuss leadership changes, corporate governance reforms, and implementation of comprehensive diversity and inclusion policies. Each agenda item hits like a sledgehammer to a foundation. Furthermore, I'm recommending immediate suspension of all senior management pending investigation into corporate culture and compliance with federal anti-discrimination statutes. Victoria staggers backward. Suspension? But I'm CEO. You were CEO. Kesha corrects gently. As of this moment, your leadership is under review by the board of directors. My recommendation carries significant weight with our fellow shareholders. The mathematics are brutal. With 34.7% ownership, her recommendations don't just carry weight, they carry votes. Catherine finds her voice, though it emerges as barely a whisper. Dr. Washington, please. Our family has built this company over 3 generations. Our reputation, our legacy, your reputation. Kesha's eyebrows rise slightly. Mrs. Whitmore, your reputation is currently trending on 6 different social media platforms. #Whitmore Racist has 2.3 million impressions and growing. She doesn't need to check her phone to know these numbers. People like Dr. Kesha Washington have teams monitoring digital sentiment in real time. Your legacy is being written right now in the comments of 127,000 people who watched your family's true character revealed under pressure. The security guards exchange glances. They signed up to escort wealthy people to their cars, not to witness the corporate equivalent of a public execution. James Sr. plays his final card. The jobs. Dr. Washington. Whitmore Industries employs 23,000 people across 12 states. Surely you won't jeopardize their livelihoods over a personal dispute. Personal dispute? Kesha's voice sharpens like a blade finding its edge. Mr. Whitmore, this isn't personal. This is business. Washington Capital's business. She checks her steel watch with deliberate precision. Your company's Q4 revenue was $847 million. The Meridian Partnership represented $1.2 billion over 3 years, 142% of your quarterly earnings. Without it, you face significant restructuring challenges. The numbers fall like artillery strikes, each calculation devastating in its accuracy. But the 23,000 employees you mentioned, they'll be fine. Washington Capital specializes in corporate turnarounds that protect worker interests while improving operational efficiency. Translation: she can run the company better than they can. Victoria makes one last desperate attempt. Our shareholders won't support this. The board won't. Your shareholders. Kesha's laugh is soft, musical, terrifying. Victoria, I am your largest shareholder. The board answers to me now. David Kim hits publish on his article. The headline reads, Whitmore Industries in crisis as largest shareholder calls emergency board meeting following viral racism incident. Within seconds, the story begins appearing in Bloomberg feeds, Reuters alerts, and Wall Street Journal notifications across the financial district. Marcus Jr. watches his phone screen with horror as his Instagram metrics explode. 500,000 views on the story where he mocked Dr. Washington. 50,000 shares comments calling for boycotts, investigations, accountability. The emergency board meeting will address 3 primary issues. Kesha continues with the precision of someone who has restructured companies before. First, Immediate implementation of comprehensive diversity training for all management levels. Second, establishment of a $50 million fund for minority business development partnerships. Third, replacement of current senior leadership with executives committed to inclusive corporate culture. Each point is a nail in the coffin of the old Whitmore Industries. The alternative, she adds quietly, is a hostile takeover, which, given recent events, I'm confident other shareholders would support enthusiastically. The room processes this nuclear option. A hostile takeover would mean complete removal of the Whitmore family from the company that bears their name. James Sr. looks around the marble penthouse, at the crystal chandeliers his grandfather installed, at the portraits of 3 generations of Whitmore patriarchs, at the empire that took a century to build and 45 minutes to destroy. "What do you want from us?" he asks, his voice barely audible. Kesha folds the legal document and returns it to her clutch with practiced precision. "I want what Washington Capital Management has always wanted, Mr. Whitmore. Partner we can be proud of." The weight of her words settles over the family like a shroud. Monday morning, 9 a.m. sharp. "Don't be late." She turns to leave, then pauses. "Oh, and Mr. Whitmore, you might want to prepare a public apology. Something sincere, the kind that acknowledges harm and commits to genuine change. The board will expect it by Tuesday." Monday morning, 9:03 a.m. The Whitmore Industries boardroom has never felt smaller. Mahogany panels that once projected authority now feel like prison walls. James Sr. sits at what was once the head of the table, but today feels like the defendant's chair. Dr. Kesha Washington enters precisely on time, flanked by 2 attorneys and a corporate restructuring specialist. Her presence transforms the room's energy from funeral parlor to operating theater. "Good morning," she says, settling into the chair directly across from James Sr. The symbolism isn't lost on anyone. The old guard facing the new reality. The emergency board vote is swift and decisive. Victoria's suspension as CEO passes 62. Marcus Jr.'s removal as COO is unanimous. Catherine's resignation from the foundation board is accepted without discussion. Effective immediately, announces board member Harrison Pierce. Dr. Washington's reform recommendations are approved and will be implemented within 30 days. The immediate changes. The $50 million Minority Business Development Fund becomes operational within 72 hours. Washington Capital Management provides the seed funding with Whitmore Industries contributing matching funds over 3 years. Victoria's mandatory sensitivity training begins Wednesday morning. The executive education program designed by Harvard Business School's diversity experts requires 40 hours of coursework and psychological evaluation. Marcus Jr. faces additional consequences. His LinkedIn profile now includes a mandatory statement. Currently participating in corporate leadership rehabilitation program following documented discriminatory conduct. His social media privileges are suspended pending completion of the program. James Sr. retains his board position but loses voting privileges for 6 months. His public apology broadcast across all company channels generates 12 million views within 24 hours. The comments section becomes a case study in accountability versus privilege. The systemic reforms, the dignity protocol becomes Whitmore Industries' new operating standard. Every employee receives training on inclusive leadership, unconscious bias, and professional respect. The program includes quarterly assessments and anonymous reporting mechanisms. A new corporate diversity dashboard tracks hiring, promotion, and retention metrics across all departments. The data is published quarterly, making Whitmore Industries one of the first companies in their sector to embrace full transparency. The company's mission statement undergoes complete revision, building sustainable partnerships that honor human dignity, promote social equity, and create value for all stakeholders. The digital reckoning. The original Instagram live video, now with 2.8 million views, becomes required viewing in business schools across the country. Harvard incorporates it into their crisis management curriculum. Wharton uses it to teach stakeholder capitalism principles. Marcus Jr. as racist commentary spawns a documentary series called When Privilege Meets Reality. The episodes examine how social media accountability is reshaping corporate behavior in real time, the corporate transformation. Dr. Washington doesn't seek the CEO position herself. Instead, she recommends Dr. Patricia Williams, a Harvard MBA with 2 decades of Fortune 500 experience and a proven track record in sustainable business transformation. The leadership transition occurs smoothly. Dr. Williams implements a listening tour across all 12 states where Whitmore Industries operates, meeting directly with workers, community leaders, and local business owners. The financial reality. Whitmore Industries' stock price drops 23% initially, but recovers within 6 weeks as investors recognize the long-term value of improved governance. ESG investment funds begin purchasing significant positions drawn by the company's authentic commitment to change. The canceled Meridian partnership gets replaced by something better, a consortium of minority-owned suppliers and contractors that creates more jobs while reducing operational costs by 8%. The partnership becomes a model for sustainable corporate restructuring. Washington Capital Management's influence extends beyond Whitmore Industries. Within 6 months, 12 other portfolio companies voluntarily adopt similar dignity protocols. The business case proves compelling. Companies with inclusive leadership policies show 19% higher revenue growth and 23% better employee retention. The personal costs. Victoria spends 3 months in corporate rehabilitation. Her Harvard MBA doesn't prepare her for learning how unconscious bias shaped decades of decision-making. The psychological evaluation reveals patterns she never recognized. Patterns that cost her company $1.20 $2 billion in one evening. She emerges humbled but educated. Her first public interview 6 months later includes a stark admission. I thought business success gave me the right to judge who belonged in my world. I was wrong about everything. Catherine's foundation work takes a different direction. Her new focus on supporting Black women entrepreneurs leads to partnerships with Howard University and Spelman College. The pearl necklace she clutched that night now accompanies her to inner-city community centers. Marcus Jr.'s transformation proves most dramatic. His Instagram account, once filled with privileged mockery, becomes a platform for amplifying Black voices in business. His followers initially think it's performative until he begins donating 50% of his trust fund to minority business development. The broader impact. The Whitmore standard becomes shorthand for corporate accountability. Other companies facing discrimination scandals point to Whitmore Industries as proof that meaningful change is possible when leadership takes responsibility. Dr. Washington's approach strategic rather than punitive. Systematic rather than symbolic influences federal discussions about corporate governance reform. Senator Elizabeth Warren cites the Whitmore transformation during banking committee hearings. The final victory. 18 months later, Whitmore Industries wins the Corporate Responsibility Excellence Award from the National Association of Black Businesses. James Sr. accepts the award, but Dr. Washington delivers the keynote address. Real change doesn't happen overnight. She tells the audience of 800 business leaders. It happens when people choose growth over grievance, accountability over excuses, and humanity over hierarchy. The applause lasts 4 minutes. In the audience, Victoria sits with her new team, 3 vice presidents she hired from HCU, 2 Latino department heads, and an indigenous supply chain director. Her company looks different now. More importantly, it performs differently. The new reality. Dr. Washington never needed to execute the hostile takeover. The threat alone created transformation that voluntary diversity programs had failed to achieve in decades. Her 34.7% ownership stake becomes a partnership model rather than a punishment. Washington Capital Management works with the reformed Whitmore Industries to develop supplier diversity programs that other Fortune 500 companies soon replicate. The measuring stick success gets measured differently now. Quarterly reports include diversity metrics alongside financial data. Employee satisfaction scores carry equal weight with profit margins. Community impact assessments inform strategic planning. The Marble Penthouse, where everything started, now hosts monthly dignity dialogues, conversations between executives and employees about workplace culture, respectful communication, and inclusive leadership. The final numbers. By year 2, Whitmore Industries reports record performance, 31% increase in employee satisfaction, 27% improvement in customer loyalty, 19% revenue growth, and 0 discrimination complaints. The company that nearly died from a moment of casual racism becomes a case study in how authentic accountability creates sustainable success. Dr. Washington's investment generates a 34% annual return. Not just financially, but in human dignity restored and potential unleashed. These are the real stories that matter. Black stories of strategic brilliance. Life stories that demonstrate how touching stories of transformation can emerge from even the darkest moments. Real-life stories where intelligence and integrity triumph over ignorance and arrogance. The marble floors of the Meridian Club still gleam with old money, but now they reflect new possibilities. 2 years later, Dr. Kesha Washington stands before the United Nations Global Compact Assembly delivering the keynote on stakeholder capitalism in practice. In the audience, 500 business leaders from 40 countries listen as she describes how one moment of discrimination became a catalyst for industry-wide transformation. Power, she says, her voice carrying across the assembly hall, isn't about what you can destroy. It's about what you choose to build. The Whitmore Industries case study now appears in business schools from Harvard to Oxford to INSEAD. Students analyze how strategic thinking triumphed over emotional reaction, how accountability created value, and how dignity became profitable. The ripple effect. The transformation sparked a movement. The Corporate Dignity Alliance, founded 18 months after that Manhattan evening, now includes 847 companies committed to measurable inclusion practices. Combined, these organizations employ 12.3 million people across North America. Victoria Whitmore serves on the Alliance's advisory board. Her transformation from privileged socialite to inclusive leader becomes required reading in executive leadership programs. She still carries the weight of that night not as shame but as responsibility. Marcus Jr.'s Privilege Check podcast reaches 2.8 million listeners monthly. Each episode examines how unconscious bias shapes business decisions. His most popular episode, The Night I Learned I Wasn't the Main Character, has 15 million downloads. Catherine's foundation now sponsors 200 Black women entrepreneurs annually. The Pearl Initiative provides both capital and mentorship with a 94% success rate. Her pearl necklace, once a symbol of exclusion, now represents inclusive opportunity. The personal legacy. Dr. Washington's approach proves that strategic intelligence creates more lasting change than public humiliation. Her investment philosophy, dignity-driven capitalism, influences $340 billion in assets under management across the financial sector. She never sought to destroy the Whitmore family. Instead, she chose to transform them. The difference matters in both outcomes and values. The broader lessons that Marble Penthouse moment teaches us profound truths about power, privilege, and possibility. Real change happens when people choose growth over defensiveness, learning over denial, and accountability over excuses. These stories matter. Black stories of quiet strength. Life stories of strategic brilliance. touching stories of transformation that inspire rather than destroy. Real-life stories where intelligence and integrity triumph over ignorance and arrogance. The continuing journey. Every quarter, Whitmore Industries publishes its Dignity Report alongside financial statements. Employee satisfaction, supplier diversity, and community impact receive equal weight with profit margins. The company that almost died from casual racism now leads its industry in inclusive excellence. Dr. for Washington's steel watch still keeps perfect time, but now it marks moments of possibility rather than countdown to destruction. Join the conversation. These are the stories that need telling. Stories of brilliant Black women changing corporate America through strategic thinking rather than social media storms. Stories of transformation that inspire rather than inflame. What would you have done in Dr. Washington's position? Have you witnessed similar moments of unconscious bias in professional settings? Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonates with you, please share it with someone who needs to understand the power of quiet strength and strategic thinking. And don't forget to subscribe to the Black Voices Speak channel for more stories of brilliance, transformation, and triumph. Hit that notification bell because these voices, these stories, these examples of excellence deserve to be heard. Together, we're not just changing individual minds. We're changing corporate culture one strategic conversation at a